Week 16 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few quarterbacks I looked at off the wire this week. So with the semifinals coming up in most fantasy leagues, maybe these quarterbacks in deeper leagues, or if you got Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously out for the season, can help you this week. The first quarterback, CJ Stroud of the Houston Texans. So Stroud, the last couple weeks since he's returned to the lineup, he's improving weekly. And this week, it's a great matchup versus the Vegas Raiders. Obviously, a defense that can't stop anyone. Week 13 in Indianapolis, 276 pass yards and interception. Week 14 at the Chiefs, 203 pass yards, a touchdown, 5 rush yards. In Week 15, a big game it was for him, 260 pass yards, 3 touchdowns, and 10 rush yards. So this week, like I said, slam dunk matchup versus the Vegas Raiders. Him and Nico Collins, they're locked in. Once again, going out there and making plays. Dalton Schultz, he's been a solid tight end this season. And also Jaden Higgins, besides last week's game, he was consistent for a little bit. So with all those factors in a great matchup versus the Vegas Raiders, I think Stroud will go out there, have a nice ball game this week. The next quarterback, J. McCarthy of the Minnesota Vikings. So the last couple weeks, McCarthy's going out there and starting to get things going. The game maybe slowing down a little bit for him. He's making good throws, and he's getting different receivers involved, even though him and Justin Jefferson still aren't hitting on big plays. With Jefferson dropped a couple passes where I thought he should have caught him in that ball game. So the last few weeks here from McCarthy since he returned to the lineup. Week 14 versus Washington, 163 pass yards, 3 touchdowns, 19 rush yards. In Week 15 at the Cowboys, a big game, 250 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, 15 rush yards with a rushing touchdown. So Week 16, a great matchup at the New York Giants, a defense that can't stop anyone, giving up the third most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And like I said, J.J. McCarthy, he's going out there, he's making plays, he's using his legs a little bit more, he's not rushing his throws and holding on to the football as long. And I think he's gained confidence versus bad defenses over the last 2 weeks. I think this week at the Giants, he'll go out there and be a decent fantasy option. And like I said, he's available in 65% of fantasy leagues. Next quarterback, Aaron Rodgers of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know Rodgers, he hasn't played yet, but next week it's a good streaming option matchup for him at the Lions. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And we've seen the Lions in high-scoring games pretty much all season long, up and down the field versus their opponents. So Rodgers, we know he's not 100% dealing with multiple fractures in his non-throwing arm. Week 11 versus Cincinnati, 116 pass yards, a touchdown. Week 13 versus Buffalo after he was out. Week 12 with the injury, 117 pass yards, a fumble loss. And Week 14 at the Ravens, 284 pass yards, a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a catch for -9 yards. He turned the clock back a little bit in that Week 14 matchup with Baltimore. I think here on Monday night he'll have a decent ball game versus Miami that gives up the 12th most fantasy points. But like I said, Week 16 is a good opportunity. It's an indoor game, and like I said, the Lions give up the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. He's out there in 74% of fantasy leagues. Next quarterback, Tyler Shuck of the New Orleans Saints. So Tyler Shuck, he's been improving over the last few weeks, and I mentioned this in other videos as well with Tyler Shuck. Week 13 in Miami, 239 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, a fumble loss, 18 rush yards, a 2-point conversion. Week 14 at Tampa Bay, 144 pass yards, an interception, 55 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. And Week 15 in the upset victory versus the Panthers, 272 pass yards, a touchdown, 32 rush yards. So he's showing mobility. Is Tyler Shuck. He's hanging in the pocket, taking some big hits, making plays. And this week it's a great matchup versus the New York Jets, where we just saw Trevor Lawrence go for 6 total touchdowns versus defense. So Shuck, I think this week is a streaming option, is a solid one, and he's out there in 91% of fantasy leagues. And the final quarterback, Gardner Minshew with the Kansas City Chiefs. And we know Mahomes, unfortunately, out for the season and possibly could miss some time early in the season next year with the torn ACL. Now Minshew's going to step in to the starting job here for this Kansas City Chiefs team. When we saw last season, he was a starter a little bit for the Vegas Raiders. 2013 pass yards, 9 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 58 rush yards, a 2-point conversion, and 4 fumble losses. Obviously, he's not that good of a quarterback. He's been a journeyman. He's a backup. But with the option playmakers in this offense, I think Minshew could go out there and make plays. You got Travis Kelce, who still could go out there and make plays. Rashee Rice, it's been a solid year for him, even though the last couple weeks he's taken some big hits. Is Rashee Rice numbers have gone down a little bit, but still, I think this offense is decent enough where Minshew could throw the football around a little bit and put some points on the board. And we saw it last season where Brock Bowers had that great rookie season breaking all the tight end records. Minshew was obviously a big part of it. So Week 16, it's a great matchup on paper at Tennessee. So if you need a streaming option in deeper leagues, Minshew's out there, like I said, in 99% of fantasy leagues. That's a few quarterbacks I looked at off the wire for Week 16 of the fantasy football season.